In a world driven by relentless pursuit of success, identity, and meaning, we often overlook a profound truth. The boundaries we cling to are illusions. We see ourselves as separate beings, isolated from one another and the vastness of the universe. Yet, beneath this illusion lies a deeper reality, one of connection, unity, and infinite possibility. This book invites you to journey beyond the constructs of the mind and rediscover your place within the grand tapestry of existence. Through these chapters, we will explore the illusions that bind us, the wisdom of duality, and the liberation that comes with seeing beyond the ego. Together, we will awaken to the joy of being, not as separate entities, but as harmonious expressions of the infinite. Are you ready to let go of the small self and embrace the boundless? The journey begins here. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Separation. From the moment we are born, we are taught to define ourselves by what makes us distinct. We are given a name, assigned a family, and introduced to a world that seems to demand individuality above all else. This sense of being a separate I becomes the foundation of our identity. We build walls between ourselves and the world, convinced that we are islands navigating a sea of others. But is this separation real, or is it merely an illusion we've inherited from centuries of cultural and societal conditioning? At its core, the illusion of separation stems from our limited perception. We look at the world through the lens of duality, self and other, subject and object, me and them. This division feels natural, even necessary, for navigating daily life. After all, we experience our thoughts as occurring inside our heads and perceive everything else as external. This framework serves practical purposes. It allows us to function, differentiate, and survive. Yet, this same framework becomes a prison when taken as ultimate truth. Society is a powerful architect of this illusion. From a young age, we are rewarded for asserting our uniqueness. Be yourself, we are told, though what this often means is, be different in ways that conform to societal expectations. Our education systems encourage competition, our economies thrive on individual achievement, and our media celebrates personal success stories. These structures, while functional, perpetuate the idea that we are independent agents, alone in our struggles and triumphs. Cultural narratives further deepen the divide. Many traditions emphasize humanity's dominion over nature, positioning us as separate from the environment we inhabit. We see the earth as a resource to be used, rather than as a living system to which we belong. This separation is not merely conceptual, it manifests in ecological crises, social alienation, and a pervasive sense of disconnection. But what if this narrative is fundamentally flawed? What if our individuality is not the core of our being, but a role we play in a much larger story? Imagine a wave rising on the surface of the ocean. For a moment, it believes itself to be distinct, unique in its shape, height, and motion. It defines itself as separate from the waves around it, unaware that it is, and has always been, part of the ocean. When the wave subsides, does it cease to exist? Or does it return to the vastness from which it arose? Like the wave, we mistake our temporary form for our entirety. We identify with our bodies, our thoughts, and our roles, forgetting that these are fleeting expressions of something much greater. The illusion of separation convinces us that we are waves in isolation, rather than the ocean itself. This illusion is not without consequence. When we see ourselves as separate, we live in constant comparison and competition. We measure our worth against others, seek validation for our individuality, and fear losing the identities we've constructed. We experience loneliness, not as a fleeting emotion, but as an existential condition. This sense of separation also blinds us to the interconnectedness of life. We fail to see how our actions ripple outward, affecting the world around us. We forget that the air we breathe was once exhaled by trees, that the food we eat depends on countless unseen organisms, and that every heartbeat connects us to an intricate web of existence. The cost of separation is not just personal, it is collective. It fuels division, conflict, and exploitation. When we view others as them, rather than extensions of ourselves, empathy becomes a challenge, and cooperation feels like a compromise rather than a necessity. What happens when we question this narrative? When we stop identifying with the surface of things and begin to look deeper? The cracks in the illusion become visible. We start to notice moments of unity that defy explanation. A shared laugh, a collective silence, the sense of awe we feel in nature. These experiences remind us of a truth we cannot fully articulate. We are not separate. We are threads in a single, boundless fabric. Consider the discoveries of modern science. Quantum physics reveals a universe where particles are interconnected across vast distances, responding to each other as if distance does not exist. Biology shows us that the cells in our bodies work in harmony with trillions of microorganisms, forming ecosystems within ecosystems. These findings align with ancient spiritual teachings that have long proclaimed the oneness of all life. Recognizing the illusion of separation is not an intellectual exercise. It is a shift in awareness. It requires us to see beyond the surface and reconnect with the essence of existence. This does not mean abandoning individuality, but understanding it as part of a larger whole. Just as a wave does not cease to be a wave when it acknowledges the ocean, we do not lose ourselves by embracing our interconnectedness. Instead, we find freedom from the constraints of the illusion. As we awaken to this truth, our perspective begins to change. We see others not as strangers, but as mirrors reflecting aspects of ourselves. We experience nature not as a backdrop, but as an extension of our being. Life becomes less about defending our separateness and more about celebrating our shared existence. The journey to dismantle the illusion of separation is not always easy. It requires unlearning deeply ingrained beliefs and confronting the fear of losing what we think defines us. But as we take this journey, we begin to discover a profound sense of peace, a peace that comes from knowing we are not alone, because we have never been alone. This is the beginning of the journey. To see beyond the illusion is to open the door to a deeper understanding of who we are and what it means to truly belong. Are you ready to step through? Chapter 2. The Dance of Duality. Life at its core is a symphony of opposites. Day gives way to night, joy emerges from sorrow, and every inhale is balanced by an exhale. This interplay of dualities is not a flaw in existence, but its essence. Yet, we often resist this dance, clinging to one side of the spectrum while rejecting the other. We crave light, but fear darkness, seek pleasure but shun pain, and strive for success while avoiding failure. What would happen if we stopped resisting and began to see duality not as a battleground, but as the dynamic rhythm of life itself? Duality is woven into the fabric of existence. It is the yin and yang, the ebb and flow, the tension that creates harmony. Without contrast, nothing would be perceivable. Light is only meaningful because of darkness. A melody is beautiful because of the silence that punctuates it. Duality gives depth to our experiences, allowing us to understand one aspect of life through its opposite. Consider the seasons. The warmth of summer feels more precious after the chill of winter. The barrenness of autumn prepares the soil for spring's renewal. Each season relies on the others to create balance. Similarly, the challenges we face give meaning to our triumphs, and moments of despair make joy all the more vivid. Despite duality's inherent role in existence, society often conditions us to see it as a conflict. We are taught to divide the world into binaries: good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. This binary thinking compels us to strive for one side while avoiding the other at all costs. For instance, we celebrate ambition and drive, but view rest as laziness. We glorify strength, but stigmatize vulnerability. This mindset not only creates internal conflict, but also fosters external divisions: us versus them, winners versus losers. The dance of duality is distorted into a tug of war, leaving us exhausted and fragmented. What if, instead of resisting duality, we learned to embrace it? What if we understood that opposites are not enemies, but partners in the cosmic dance of existence. To embrace duality is to recognize that every experience, no matter how difficult, holds value. Darkness is not the absence of light, but its complement. Pain, though uncomfortable, often serves as a catalyst for growth and transformation. When we stop labeling aspects of life as purely good or bad, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of existence. This does not mean passively accepting every hardship or denying the reality of suffering. It means acknowledging that life's opposites are interdependent. To reject one side is to diminish the fullness of life itself. For example, without the experience of loss, we would not truly appreciate the preciousness of love. Without moments of uncertainty, we would not grow into the clarity of wisdom. Nature provides profound lessons in embracing duality. Consider the interplay of fire and water, elements that seem opposed yet coexist in harmony. Fire's heat is tempered by water's coolness, and water's stillness is animated by fire's energy. Together, they maintain balance within ecosystems. Similarly, the ocean embodies the dance of duality through its waves. Each crest rises because of the trough that follows. The wave does not resist its fall. It flows with the rhythm of the tide. This is not passivity. It is the wisdom of nature, which accepts change and opposition as essential forces of life. On a personal level, embracing duality means accepting ourselves as multifaceted beings. We are both strong and fragile, hopeful and doubtful, loving and fearful. These aspects are not contradictions, but dimensions of our humanity. When we deny parts of ourselves, we create internal tension and alienation. But when we embrace all aspects, we find wholeness. For example, consider the interplay of courage and fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Fear, in turn, is not an enemy. It is a signal, a teacher that points to our vulnerabilities and desires. Together, courage and fear shape our growth. In relationships, duality often manifests as harmony and conflict. No partnership exists without moments of tension, yet these moments can lead to deeper understanding and connection. The same applies to our relationship with ourselves. Our inner struggles often reveal the truths we most need to face. To live in harmony with duality, we must release the need to control or resist life's natural rhythms. This requires mindfulness, being present with whatever arises without judgment. When joy comes, savor it fully. When sorrow arrives, honor its lessons. Neither state is permanent. Both are part of the ever-changing dance. Practices such as meditation, journaling, or spending time in nature can help us cultivate this awareness. These moments of stillness allow us to witness the interplay of opposites without becoming entangled in them. Over time, we begin to see that life is not a series of isolated events, but an interconnected flow. The beauty of duality is that it points to a deeper unity. While opposites appear distinct, they are two sides of the same coin. Light and dark, joy and sorrow, creation and destruction, all arise from the same source. When we embrace this paradox, we transcend the illusion of separation and begin to see life as a whole. This shift in perspective brings freedom. We no longer cling to fleeting moments of happiness or despair over temporary challenges. Instead, we learn to flow with life, trusting that every experience contributes to the greater harmony. The dance of duality invites us to live with greater awareness and acceptance. It asks us to stop fighting against life's opposites and instead join the rhythm of existence. When we embrace duality, we discover that life is not a battle to be won, but a dance to be enjoyed. So, let us step into the dance with open hearts and curious minds. Let us celebrate the interplay of light and shadow, joy and sorrow, self and other. For in this dance lies the essence of existence, the beauty of a life fully lived. Chapter 3. The Taboo of Self-Knowledge. The phrase "know thyself" has echoed through time, inscribed on ancient temples and woven into the teachings of sages and philosophers. Yet, despite its revered status, the journey of self-knowledge is often shrouded in taboo. Why do societies that claim to value wisdom discourage introspection? What forces keep us from looking inward, where the answers to our deepest questions reside? This chapter explores the cultural, societal, and psychological barriers that obscure self-knowledge and challenges the norms that label such exploration as forbidden or unnecessary. Self-knowledge demands that we confront truths about ourselves that may be uncomfortable or unsettling. It requires peeling back layers of identity, ego, and societal conditioning to reveal what lies beneath. This process can be daunting, as it often means facing parts of ourselves we've ignored or repressed, our fears, insecurities, and contradictions. Societies, too, reflect this fear of the unknown. Structures of power and conformity thrive on predictability and order. When individuals begin questioning their roles, values, and identities, it disrupts the status quo. Introspection is dangerous to systems that rely on blind adherence because it leads to transformation, which cannot be easily controlled. From a young age, we are conditioned to look outward rather than inward. Success is measured by external achievements, grades, wealth, social status, while inner fulfillment is rarely discussed. In many cultures, self-reflection is seen as self-indulgence or weakness, a luxury for those with time to spare. This outward focus is reinforced by the media, which bombards us with messages that our worth lies in how we look, what we own, or whom we impress. These narratives create a perpetual cycle of comparison and striving, leaving little room for introspection. Why would we look within when we are told that happiness can be purchased or achieved through external means? Religious and moral teachings, too, can sometimes discourage self-inquiry. While many spiritual traditions encourage self-awareness, others emphasize submission to authority or adherence to dogma over personal exploration. Questioning one's beliefs or seeking one's truth can be seen as heretical, threatening the cohesion of the group. Another barrier to self-knowledge is the illusion that we are fixed, unchanging beings. We cling to labels: student, parent, professional, artist, believing they define who we are. These identities provide a sense of stability in an unpredictable world. Yet they are masks, temporary roles that conceal the fluid, dynamic nature of our being. The quest for self-knowledge threatens this illusion. It reveals that who we are is not a static entity, but a process, an unfolding. This realization can be liberating, but it can also be terrifying. It requires letting go of the safety of certainty and embracing the mystery of becoming. Avoiding self-knowledge comes at a cost. Without it, we are like ships adrift, guided not by an inner compass, but by the currents of external influence. We make choices based on what others expect, rather than what aligns with our true selves. We pursue goals that leave us feeling empty, because they are not rooted in our authentic desires. This disconnection from self is often the root of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and conflict. When we don't understand ourselves, we project our unresolved issues onto others, creating misunderstandings and strained relationships. We may seek validation from sources that can never truly satisfy us, perpetuating a cycle of longing and disappointment. Breaking the taboo of self-knowledge begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing introspection as self-indulgence, we must recognize it as a path to authenticity and freedom. Self-knowledge is not about navel-gazing or self-absorption. It is about uncovering the truth of who we are so that we can live with clarity and purpose. This journey requires courage. It means asking difficult questions. What do I truly value, beyond what society has taught me? What fears or beliefs are holding me back? Am I living in alignment with my authentic self, or am I performing a role to meet others' expectations? It also means embracing practices that support self-awareness, such as meditation, journaling, or therapy. These tools help us observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing us to see patterns and uncover insights. To pursue self-knowledge is to challenge the norms that suppress it. It is a revolutionary act in a world that profits from our ignorance and insecurity. It means stepping away from the noise of consumerism, social media, and superficial success to tune into the still, small voice within. This doesn't mean rejecting society altogether, but engaging with it from a place of authenticity. When we know ourselves, we are less likely to be swayed by trends or manipulated by fear. We become active participants in shaping the world, rather than passive recipients of its dictates. The gift of self-knowledge is freedom. It frees us from the need for external validation, allowing us to find contentment within. It liberates us from false identities, enabling us to live with integrity. And it connects us to the greater whole, as we realize that the journey inward leads not to isolation, but to a deeper understanding of our place in the universe. Imagine a world where self-knowledge is not taboo but celebrated. A world where individuals are encouraged to explore their depths, to question and evolve. Such a world would be one of compassion and creativity, where people act not from fear or conformity, but from love and authenticity. Self-knowledge is not an indulgence, it is a necessity. It is the foundation of a life well lived, and the key to transforming ourselves and the world around us. The question is not whether we should embark on this journey, but whether we can afford not to. Chapter 4. The Fabric of Interconnectedness. Look closely at a spider's web, and you'll see a masterpiece of interconnected threads, each strand playing its part in the whole. Pluck one string, and vibrations ripple across the structure. This delicate web mirrors the universe itself, a boundless network where every element is intrinsically tied to another. Yet, in our pursuit of individuality, we often lose sight of this truth. We act as if we are isolated islands, forgetting that we are part of an intricate tapestry. In this chapter, we explore the profound interconnectedness of all life and the universe, illuminating how understanding this unity can reshape how we live. At the root of much human suffering lies the illusion of separateness. We see ourselves as distinct entities, divided from one another by the boundaries of our skin, our beliefs, and our possessions. This perception is reinforced by cultural narratives that glorify competition over cooperation and individualism over community. But consider the air we breathe. It moves through us and then out into the world, mingling with the breaths of others. The food we eat grows from soil nourished by decayed remnants of life that came before. Our thoughts and emotions ripple outward, influencing those around us in ways we may never fully grasp. Science, too, affirms our unity. Quantum physics reveals that at the most fundamental level, particles are not isolated, but exist in states of entanglement. Biologists speak of ecosystems where every organism, from the tiniest microbe to the mightiest tree, depends on others for survival. Interconnectedness is not a poetic idea. It is a reality woven into the very fabric of existence. No one exists in a vacuum. Our lives are shaped by countless relationships, some seen, others unseen. From the family that nurtures us to the strangers whose labor brings food to our tables, we are continuously influenced by and influencing others. These connections extend beyond human relationships. The sun warms our planet, enabling life. Rivers carve paths through the earth, providing water for all living beings. Trees exhale oxygen, which we inhale. In this vast network, humanity is not at the center, but part of a greater whole. Yet, we often forget these relationships, viewing nature as something to conquer rather than coexist with. This disconnection fosters exploitation and environmental degradation, as we fail to recognize that harming the earth is ultimately harming ourselves. Many spiritual traditions emphasize interconnectedness as a central truth. In Buddhism, the concept of dependent origination teaches that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena. Nothing exists independently. Similarly, indigenous worldviews often recognize the sacred web of life, treating all beings as kin. These teachings remind us that our actions matter, not just to us, but to the entire web of existence. When we act with kindness, compassion, and mindfulness, we contribute to the harmony of the whole. When we act out of selfishness or ignorance, we create ripples of disharmony. Understanding interconnectedness invites us to shift our perspective. Instead of seeing ourselves as isolated egos navigating a hostile world, We can see ourselves as threads in a beautiful tapestry. This perspective fosters humility, as we recognize our dependence on others, and gratitude, as we appreciate the countless forces that sustain us. Imagine if we viewed every interaction as an opportunity to strengthen the web of connection. How would this shift in awareness change how we treat one another? Would we be quicker to forgive, slower to judge, and more eager to collaborate? In acknowledging interconnectedness, we must also embrace interdependence. This does not mean losing our individuality, but recognizing that our individuality is enriched by our relationships. Just as a single note becomes meaningful when part of a melody, our unique contributions find purpose within the greater whole. Interdependence calls us to both give and receive. It challenges the idea that self-sufficiency is the highest virtue and invites us to lean on others while offering our support in return. This balance of giving and receiving creates resilience, as we draw strength from the web of connections that surrounds us. When we understand interconnectedness, the divisions that often separate us, race, religion, nationality, gender, begin to dissolve. We see beyond the surface differences to the shared essence beneath. This recognition is profoundly healing. Consider how conflict might change if we remembered our shared humanity. Instead of seeing an opponent, we might see a reflection of ourselves. Instead of seeking to dominate, we might seek to understand. This shift from division to unity holds the potential to transform not only individual relationships, but entire societies. Recognizing interconnectedness is not a passive realization, it is an active practice. It means aligning our actions with the well-being of the whole. It means questioning choices that prioritize short-term gain over long-term sustainability. It means considering how our decisions ripple outward, affecting others and the planet. Living in harmony with the whole requires mindfulness. It invites us to pause and ask, how does this choice impact the web of life? Am I acting out of fear and separation, or love and connection? How can I contribute to the flourishing of all beings? As we weave through life, the illusion of separateness may tempt us to forget our place in the greater web. But every moment offers an opportunity to return to the truth of our unity. By embracing interconnectedness, we can live with greater compassion, purpose, and peace. The fabric of existence is vast and intricate, and each of us is a thread within it. The question is not whether we are connected, but how we will honor that connection. Will we continue to act as though we are isolated fragments, or will we embrace the profound truth that we are part of something infinite, something whole? In this interconnected reality, there is no other. There is only us, a single web of life, endlessly creating, evolving, and expressing the wonder of being. Chapter 5. The Ego Illusion. The ego is a master storyteller, weaving a narrative where you are the central character. It whispers in your ear that you are separate, special, and in control. It gives you a name, a face, a history, and a set of preferences, convincing you that this bundle of identities is who you are. Yet, beneath this carefully constructed facade lies a deeper truth. The ego is not the essence of your being, but a shadow cast by your mind. It is an illusion, and believing in it too strongly can blind you to the vastness of your true self. From the moment we are born, the ego begins to take shape. It is not inherently malicious. In fact, it serves a practical purpose. It allows us to navigate the world, form relationships, and make decisions. As children, we learn to identify ourselves as separate from others. Our name, our possessions, our likes and dislikes become the foundation of our self-concept. Over time, this self-concept solidifies. We cling to it, defending it against perceived threats and expanding it with achievements, titles, and affiliations. The ego thrives on comparison. It defines itself in opposition to others. I am smarter, richer, more successful, or I am worse off, less fortunate, unworthy. What we often fail to see is that this self-image is not fixed. It is a patchwork of experiences, beliefs, and assumptions that can change in an instant. Lose your job, end a relationship, or face a health crisis, and the ego's narrative begins to unravel. The ego convinces us that we are our thoughts, emotions, and roles. It insists that without these identifiers, we would cease to exist. This is the great lie of the ego. Imagine a river believing it is merely the ripples on its surface, forgetting the deep, flowing waters beneath. The ego is like those ripples, transient and shallow compared to the vastness of your true nature. You are not your career, your achievements, or even your failures. You are not your fears or your desires. These are expressions of your experience, not the core of your being. The ego is a double-edged sword. While it can provide a sense of stability and purpose, it also creates much of the suffering we experience. Why? Because the ego is perpetually dissatisfied. It constantly seeks validation, fearing irrelevance. It chases success, fearing failure. It clings to the past and worries about the future, rarely allowing you to dwell in the present moment. The ego's narrative is one of lack. I need more. I must prove myself. I am not enough. This endless striving disconnects us from the peace and contentment that arise when we stop identifying with the ego. It turns life into a competition rather than a shared journey. To transcend the ego, we must first recognize it. The ego is subtle, often masquerading as your voice of reason or your inner critic. It thrives on comparison, judgment, and attachment. Ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear or pride? Do I feel the need to prove my worth? Am I clinging to an identity or role that no longer serves me? These questions can reveal the ego's influence in your thoughts and actions. Transcending the ego does not mean destroying it. The ego is a part of you, but it is not the whole of you. The goal is to recognize the ego's limitations and shift your focus to the deeper self that lies beyond it. 1. Mindfulness and presence. The ego thrives on distractions, regrets about the past, anxieties about the future. Practicing mindfulness anchors you in the present moment, where the ego has little power. By observing your thoughts without judgment, you can begin to see the ego's patterns without being controlled by them. 2. Letting go of attachments. The ego clings to labels and possessions, believing they define your worth. Practice detachment by reminding yourself that these things are temporary. You are not your job, your possessions, or your achievements. Letting go frees you from the ego's grip. 3. Acts of compassion. The ego is self-centered, while compassion dissolves the illusion of separation. By focusing on the well-being of others, you expand your perspective and weaken the ego's hold. 4. Meditation and inner silence. In the stillness of meditation, the ego's chatter quiets. This silence allows you to connect with the deeper self, the part of you that is timeless and unchanging. When you step beyond the ego, you rediscover your authentic self. This self is not defined by accolades or failures, but by its intrinsic connection to life itself. It is the awareness that observes your thoughts and experiences without judgment. This authentic self is not threatened by change because it understands that change is the nature of existence. It does not seek validation because it knows it is already whole. Imagine living without the constant pressure to prove yourself, without the fear of failure or the need to compare. This is the freedom that comes from transcending the ego. It is not a denial of individuality, but a deeper embrace of your true nature. When you let go of the ego, you find a profound sense of unity with the world. You no longer see yourself as a separate entity struggling to survive, but as a part of the greater whole, flowing effortlessly with the rhythm of life. The ego is a powerful illusion, but it is not the enemy. It is a tool, a lens through which you can navigate the world. The challenge is to use this tool wisely, without mistaking it for your true self. By understanding the ego and its limitations, you can move beyond its narrow narrative and step into the boundless reality of who you are. This journey is not about losing yourself, but about finding the self that was never lost. the self that is infinite, interconnected, and free. Chapter 6. The Art of Letting Go. Letting go is often misunderstood as a passive act, a resignation to circumstances beyond our control. Yet, true letting go is not about giving up. It is an active surrender, a deliberate release of resistance, and a profound embrace of life's flow. It requires courage to unshackle oneself from attachments, expectations, and the illusion of control. In this letting go, we find a freedom that transcends fear, a peace that surpasses understanding. As humans, we are wired to seek stability and certainty. We plan, prepare, and predict, hoping to steer the unpredictable tides of life. This desire for control can serve us well in creating structure and purpose, but it becomes a source of suffering when we cling too tightly. Control is an illusion. The universe operates on a scale far beyond our comprehension, a dance of interconnected forces that defies human manipulation. Seasons change, relationships evolve, and life unfolds in ways that often diverge from our plans. To resist this flow is to fight a losing battle, leaving us exhausted and disheartened. The art of letting go begins with acknowledging this truth. While we can influence the world around us, we cannot dictate its outcomes. Control is fleeting. Surrender is eternal. Attachment is the root of much of our suffering. We attach ourselves to people, possessions, identities, and outcomes, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. While these things may enrich our lives, they are impermanent. To pin our sense of self to the transient is to build a foundation on shifting sands. Letting go of attachment does not mean detaching from life. It means loving deeply without clinging, engaging fully without demanding permanence. It is a way of experiencing life with open hands, ready to receive and release in equal measure. Consider the metaphor of holding a butterfly. If you grasp it too tightly, you harm it. If you hold it gently, it rests in your palm. Letting go is the gentle touch that allows life to flourish without suffocation. Mindfulness is a powerful ally in the practice of letting go. By cultivating awareness of the present moment, we can observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. When we practice mindfulness, we notice the mental loops of worry, regret, and attachment. We see how our minds replay past hurts or project future fears, anchoring us to pain that no longer exists or has yet to arrive. Mindfulness invites us to step out of this cycle and into the present, where freedom resides. Through mindfulness, we learn to respond rather than react. Instead of clinging to what we cannot change or grasping for what we lack, we allow life to unfold as it is. This does not mean passivity. It means choosing peace over resistance. At the heart of letting go is acceptance. Acceptance is not a passive resignation, but a radical acknowledgement of what is. It is the recognition that life, in all its beauty and chaos, is as it should be in this moment. To accept is to release the shoulds that bind us, the belief that life should be fair, that others should behave as we expect, that we should be somewhere other than where we are. These expectations are chains forged by the ego, and breaking them is an act of liberation. Acceptance does not mean we stop striving for growth or change. Rather, it allows us to work from a place of clarity and peace, unburdened by resistance to the present. Practical steps to let go. 1. Identify your attachments. Take time to reflect on what you are holding on to. Is it a past mistake, a future outcome, a relationship or identity? Awareness is the first step to release. 2. Challenge the need for control. Ask yourself, what would happen if I let go of this? Often the worst-case scenarios we imagine are less dire than we fear. 3. Practice gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. It is a reminder that life's blessings are abundant, even amidst uncertainty. 4. Embrace uncertainty. Life is inherently unpredictable. Instead of fearing the unknown, view it as a realm of infinite possibilities. 5. Meditate on impermanence. Reflect on the transient nature of all things. Impermanence is not a loss. It is the natural flow of life, a reminder to cherish each moment. Surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It is the courage to trust that life will carry you, even when the path ahead is unclear. When we let go, we make space for new possibilities. We free ourselves from the weight of what no longer serves us and open our hearts to the gifts of the present. This is not a loss, but a gain, a step closer to our authentic selves, unburdened by fear and attachment. Consider a river flowing effortlessly to the sea. It does not resist the rocks in its path or cling to the banks it passes. It moves with grace, trusting the journey. We are like the river, capable of flowing with life's current rather than against it. The art of letting go is not a one-time act, but a lifelong practice. It is a way of being that honors the impermanence of life and the interconnectedness of all things. When we let go, we discover that we are not losing, we are finding peace in the present, joy in the journey, and freedom in the flow of existence. Letting go is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a deeper, more harmonious way of living. As you release your grip on what you cannot control, you will find yourself carried by a current far greater than your own. It is here, in the art of letting go, that the beauty of life truly unfolds. Chapter 7. Reclaiming the Cosmic Perspective. Our everyday lives often draw us into the smallness of personal concerns, the tasks, conflicts, and ambitions that make up our routines. While these are integral parts of being human, they can also obscure the grandeur of existence itself. Reclaiming the cosmic perspective is about stepping back from this tunnel vision to view life through a broader lens, one that reveals our intrinsic connection to the vast, infinite universe. It is an invitation to shift from a mindset of isolation to one of unity, from seeing ourselves as separate individuals to understanding ourselves as integral parts of the cosmic dance. The personal perspective is a story we craft about who we are. It is built on the foundations of identity, relationships, achievements, and desires. While this narrative gives structure and meaning to our lives, it can also confine us, narrowing our vision and making us overly self-focused. The cosmic perspective, on the other hand, expands our awareness to include not just the story of me, but the story of existence itself. It invites us to consider the miraculous nature of being, a universe that, against unfathomable odds, has brought forth stars, planets, and life. To see oneself as part of this infinite expanse is to experience a profound sense of awe and humility. As children, we are naturally attuned to wonder. A blade of grass, the expanse of the night sky, or the intricate movements of an insect can captivate us. Yet, as we grow older, the pressures and routines of daily life dull this sense of amazement. The extraordinary becomes ordinary, and we lose touch with the magic of existence. Reclaiming the cosmic perspective means reawakening this childlike awe. It involves looking at the world, not as something mundane and known, but as an incredible mystery. The stars above are not just distant lights, they are ancient beacons, burning for billions of years, made of the same elements that compose our bodies. The breath we take is not just an unconscious act. It is a gift, a connection to the air that sustains all life. This shift in perspective doesn't diminish our personal struggles, it places them in context. When we remember that we are part of something so vast and wondrous, our worries and fears lose some of their power. The cosmic perspective also illuminates the fragility of life. Earth, suspended in the void of space, is a thin cradle of life surrounded by a universe of extremes. Every living being is a miracle of balance and interdependence, shaped by forces beyond comprehension. Contemplating this fragility can inspire both gratitude and responsibility. Gratitude for the gift of life, however fleeting, and responsibility to care for the interconnected web of existence. To see oneself as part of the cosmos is to recognize that our actions ripple far beyond ourselves, impacting the planet, other beings, and the generations to come. One of the most profound insights of the cosmic perspective is the dissolution of the illusion of separation. Modern science tells us that everything in the universe is interconnected. The atoms in our bodies were forged in the hearts of stars. The water we drink has cycled through countless forms, from rivers to oceans to clouds. The breath we exhale is taken in by plants, completing a cycle of life and renewal. Spiritually, this interconnectedness is echoed in traditions around the world. Many wisdom teachings describe life as a web, a unity where all beings are threads woven into the same fabric. When we see ourselves through this lens, we begin to understand that we are not isolated beings navigating a foreign world. We are the world. We are the cosmos, expressing itself in human form. This realization dissolves barriers, fostering compassion for all life and a sense of belonging that transcends individuality. To reclaim the cosmic perspective is also to embrace the eternal. Our lives are fleeting, a momentary flicker in the vast expanse of time. Yet, within this fleeting moment lies the essence of eternity. We are not separate from the infinite, we are expressions of it. Consider the waves of the ocean. Each wave rises and falls, unique yet inseparable from the sea. Similarly, our lives are temporary expressions of the eternal energy that animates the universe. To see oneself as a wave rather than the ocean is to miss the greater truth. Practices for cultivating the cosmic perspective. 1. Gazing at the stars. Spend time under the night sky. Let its vastness remind you of your place in the cosmos. Reflect on the interconnectedness of all things, from the stars above to the ground beneath your feet. 2. Meditating on interconnection. In moments of stillness, meditate on the idea that you are part of the greater whole. Visualize the threads of life connecting you to the earth, the air, the universe, and all living beings. 3. Exploring cosmic knowledge. Study the wonders of the universe, astronomy, biology, physics. Understanding the mechanics of existence can deepen your awe and inspire humility. 4. Practicing gratitude. Reflect on the miracle of being alive. Write down the aspects of your life that fill you with wonder, from the simple act of breathing to the vastness of the cosmos. 5. Letting go of egocentric thinking. When faced with challenges, remind yourself of the larger picture. Ask, how does this fit into the vastness of existence? How can I approach this with the humility and awe of someone aware of the infinite? Reclaiming the cosmic perspective is not an escape from life's struggles. It is a way of approaching them with greater clarity and peace. When we see ourselves as part of the infinite, we are freed from the confines of ego and the illusion of isolation. We are no longer small, separate beings striving to control the uncontrollable. We are vast, interconnected, and deeply woven into the fabric of existence. In this awareness, life transforms. The mundane becomes sacred, the transient becomes eternal, and the self becomes a reflection of the infinite. This is the power of reclaiming the cosmic perspective, an invitation to live not as mere individuals, but as conscious expressions of the universe itself. Chapter 8. Beyond Labels and Definitions. From the moment we are born, the world begins to label us. Gender, nationality, ethnicity, religion, social class. These identifiers are layered upon us like a second skin, shaping how we see ourselves and how others perceive us. As we grow, these labels expand to include our roles: student, employee, parent, partner, and even our internal narratives: smart, shy, successful, unworthy. While labels serve as tools for understanding and navigating the world, they can also become prisons, confining us to a limited sense of self and obstructing our ability to experience life in its fullness. To move beyond labels and definitions is to step into the vastness of who you truly are, an essence that cannot be confined by words, roles, or concepts. It is an invitation to shed the masks imposed by society and to embrace life as an unfolding mystery, free from the need for rigid identities. Definitions are inherently reductive. To define something is to limit it. to carve out a finite boundary around what is otherwise infinite. When you define yourself as successful, you inadvertently create the possibility of failure. When you identify as kind, you may suppress moments of anger or resentment, fearing they contradict your self-image. These definitions often stem from societal expectations, which prioritize clarity and certainty over the fluidity of human experience. They demand that we be something rather than simply be. Yet, in the attempt to define ourselves, we lose touch with our authentic nature, which is boundless and ever-changing. Labels can feel like burdens. Consider how many of the following statements resonate with you. I am not good at relationships. I am a perfectionist. I am too old to try something new. These statements, while seemingly harmless, become self-fulfilling prophecies. They reinforce a fixed mindset, limiting your potential to grow, adapt, or transcend. Labels tell us who we are, and by extension, who we cannot be. They tether us to a narrow version of ourselves, restricting the freedom to explore life's endless possibilities. Imagine living without the need for labels. Instead of saying, I am a failure, or I am successful, you simply observe, this experience taught me something. Instead of identifying as strong or weak, you recognize moments of resilience and vulnerability as natural parts of being human. To live beyond labels is not to reject them entirely. They have their utility, but to see them for what they are, tools, not truths. It is to embrace the paradoxical nature of existence, where you can be kind and angry, wise and foolish, joyful and sorrowful, all within the same breath. Life is not a static state, but a flow of experiences, emotions, and insights. To define yourself by any single aspect is to miss the richness of the whole. Society thrives on labels. They create order, predictability, and systems of inclusion and exclusion. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek validation through these labels. Good student, hard worker, loyal friend. We internalize this conditioning, measuring our worth by external markers. However, societal labels are often arbitrary and culturally specific. What is celebrated in one society may be dismissed in another. The standards are constantly shifting, making them unreliable measures of your intrinsic value. To move beyond societal labels is to reclaim your power. It is to understand that your worth is not determined by how well you fit into predefined categories, but by your ability to live authentically and fully. Practical steps to move beyond labels. 1. Challenge your self-perceptions. Write down the labels you use to describe yourself. Then, question their origins. Are they rooted in personal experience, societal expectation, or fear? For each label, ask, is this truly who I am, or is it a story I've been told? 2. Practice mindful awareness. In moments of self-doubt or self-judgment, pause and observe your thoughts. Notice how labels arise. I'm not good enough. I'm too emotional. And gently remind yourself that these are not truths, but passing judgments. 3. Embrace the power of I am. Instead of defining yourself by specific roles or traits, try simply saying, I am. This statement, free from qualifiers, connects you to your essential beingness. It is a reminder that you exist beyond all concepts and categories. 4. Engage with others beyond labels. Notice how you label others: lazy, arrogant, compassionate. Challenge yourself to see beyond these labels and to connect with the deeper humanity of each person. This practice not only transforms relationships, but also reflects back on how you view yourself. 5. Let go of the need for certainty. Labels offer a false sense of security. They make the world seem predictable and orderly. But life is inherently uncertain and dynamic. Embrace this uncertainty as a source of freedom rather than fear. Living beyond labels does not mean abandoning your identity, but expanding it. It is recognizing that you are not your job, your accomplishments, or your failures. You are not your body, your thoughts, or your emotions. You are the awareness in which all these things arise and dissolve. This realization is liberating. It allows you to approach life with curiosity and openness, free from the need to fit into rigid molds. You become like a river, flowing and adapting, rather than a stagnant pond defined by fixed boundaries. Ultimately, moving beyond labels is about embracing the mystery of existence. Who you are cannot be fully captured by words, because you are not a concept. You are a living, breathing manifestation of the infinite. To live beyond labels is to live with a sense of wonder. It is to wake up each day as a new person, unburdened by the stories of the past or the expectations of the future. It is to experience life as it is, vivid, unpredictable, and beautiful, without the need to reduce it to a definition. In this space of freedom, you discover the truth. You are not a label. You are life itself, infinite and ever-evolving. Chapter 9. Living with Awareness. Life, in its truest form, unfolds in the present moment. Yet, how often do we find ourselves absent, lost in thought, or distracted by the noise of the external world? The mind wanders to regrets of the past, fears for the future, and endless streams of judgment and comparison. In this constant mental chatter, we lose sight of what is real. This moment, here and now. Living with awareness means reclaiming our presence. It is the practice of anchoring ourselves in the now and engaging with life fully, without distraction or detachment. There is a profound beauty in simply being present. When you engage with awareness, even the mundane becomes extraordinary. The feel of sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of your breath, the laughter of a child. Each experience becomes vibrant and alive when seen through the lens of mindfulness. Presence transforms ordinary moments into sacred ones, reminding us that life's richness is not found in the big milestones alone, but in the countless, fleeting moments that fill each day. Living with awareness is not about achieving perfection. It is about cultivating a deeper connection to life. It is realizing that every breath, every sensation, and every interaction is an opportunity to be fully alive. This awareness fosters a sense of gratitude, for even the simplest aspects of existence become gifts to be cherished. In contrast, living on autopilot dulls our experience of life. Distraction is the thief of presence. Whether it is the lure of digital devices, the incessant demands of daily responsibilities, or the relentless pursuit of external validation, distraction pulls us away from ourselves and the world around us. Over time, this detachment creates a sense of disconnection, leaving us feeling empty despite being surrounded by activity. Distraction not only diminishes our quality of life, but also robs us of self-awareness. When we are perpetually distracted, we fail to notice the subtleties of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. We act out patterns unconsciously, unaware of the beliefs and habits driving them. Awareness, on the other hand, illuminates these patterns, offering us the freedom to choose differently. One of the most transformative aspects of living with awareness is the ability to observe without judgment. Awareness invites us to step back from our thoughts and emotions, to witness them as they arise and pass, without becoming entangled in them. This practice cultivates a sense of inner stillness, even amidst the chaos of life. For example, when anger arises, instead of reacting impulsively or suppressing it, awareness allows us to acknowledge the emotion. This is anger. By observing it without judgment, we create space to understand its source and choose a response that aligns with our values. This non-judgmental observation extends to all aspects of life, from the way we perceive ourselves to the way we interact with others. Living with awareness does not require retreating to a monastery or dedicating hours to meditation. It is a practice that can be woven into the fabric of everyday life. Here are some ways to cultivate awareness. 1. Mindful breathing. The breath is a powerful anchor to the present moment. Take a few moments throughout the day to focus on your breath. Notice its rhythm, depth, and sensation. This simple practice can ground you in the here and now. 2. Mindful observation. Choose an object, a tree, a cup of tea, or the sky, and observe it fully. Notice its colors, textures, and form. Engage all your senses. This practice sharpens your awareness and brings you into direct contact with your surroundings. 3. Listening fully. In conversations, practice listening with your full attention. Instead of planning your response or letting your mind wander, focus entirely on the speaker. This deep presence not only enriches relationships, but also cultivates empathy and understanding. 4. Body awareness. Throughout the day, check in with your body. Notice sensations, areas of tension, and your posture. By reconnecting with your body, you strengthen your awareness of the present moment. 5. Mindful transitions. Use moments of transition, getting out of bed, walking to your car, or washing your hands, as opportunities to pause and reset. These brief moments of awareness can punctuate your day with mindfulness. When we live with awareness, we gain clarity. Awareness acts as a compass, guiding us toward choices that align with our true values and intentions. It helps us discern what truly matters, allowing us to let go of what does not. In this way, awareness fosters authenticity, as we live in harmony with our inner truth, rather than being swayed by external pressures. Awareness also deepens our connection to others. When we are present, we see people for who they are, not as projections of our expectations or judgments. This presence nurtures compassion and creates space for genuine connection. Living with awareness is simple, but it is not always easy. The mind resists stillness. It clings to its patterns of distraction, overthinking, and self-criticism. Cultivating awareness requires patience and practice. It is a journey of returning to the present moment, again and again, with kindness toward oneself. It is also important to recognize that awareness does not eliminate life's challenges. It does not shield us from pain, loss, or uncertainty. Instead, it equips us to face these experiences with grace. Awareness allows us to meet life as it is, without resistance or denial, and to find peace within the unfolding of each moment. Ultimately, living with awareness is an act of love for oneself, for others, and for life itself. It is a commitment to be present, to engage fully, and to honor the miracle of existence. Awareness transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It reminds us that the most profound experiences are often found in the simplest of moments. To live with awareness is to awaken to life. It is to see with fresh eyes, to listen with an open heart, and to experience each moment as a unique and fleeting gift. It is a way of being that transcends doing, a way of seeing that goes beyond looking, and a way of living that celebrates the wonder of simply being alive. Chapter 10. The Joy of Being. In the rush of modern life, it is easy to forget the simple yet profound joy that comes with just being. We are often so caught up in the pursuit of accomplishments, success, and external validation that we overlook the most essential aspect of existence: the joy of simply being alive, here, now, in this moment. The constant striving for more wealth, more recognition, more experiences, often leaves us empty, as if the goalposts of happiness are perpetually moving farther away. Yet, what if joy doesn't come from what we acquire or achieve, but from the deep acceptance of life as it is? The joy of being is found in the present moment, where life is neither a distant memory nor a future aspiration, but a living, breathing reality unfolding in front of us. The present moment is where we experience the richness of life, where our senses come alive, where emotions ebb and flow, where we encounter the full spectrum of human existence. To find joy in being, we must let go of our attachment to outcomes and return to the now, where life's simple pleasures are abundant. Take a moment to pause and notice. Breathe in and feel the air enter your lungs. Hear the sound of birds chirping, the hum of distant traffic, or the rustling of leaves in the wind. Look at the colors around you, the shapes of clouds in the sky, or the texture of the ground beneath your feet. When we engage fully with our environment, we realize how much beauty exists in each passing second. The joy of being is born from our ability to savor these moments, to be completely present without distraction, without concern for what's next. Why do we so often neglect the present moment? The answer lies in our collective obsession with the future. From a young age, we are taught to plan, to strive, to achieve. We are conditioned to think that happiness exists somewhere out there, after we get the promotion, after we buy the house, after we reach our goals. This future orientation leads to a constant feeling of discontent, as if we are never quite there, never quite enough. The future becomes a moving target, and we chase it endlessly, thinking that fulfillment will be found just over the next hill. But in this constant striving, we forget that the only time we truly have is the present. The future never arrives, and when it does, it is always the present moment. By fixating on what we don't have yet, we miss the beauty and joy that already exists around us. True joy is not something we will find once we achieve a certain goal or arrive at a specific destination. It is a state of being that is accessible to us right now, if only we allow ourselves to be present to it. Another barrier to experiencing the joy of being is our resistance to life's impermanence. We often crave stability, comfort, and control, fearing the uncertainties of life. This fear of change can cause us to cling to the past or worry about the future, preventing us from fully experiencing the present. However, life's transience is what makes it precious. Every moment is fleeting, and in that very impermanence lies its beauty. When we accept that everything is temporary, our joys, our sorrows, our successes, and our failures, we are freed to experience life with greater depth and appreciation. Rather than resisting change, we can embrace it, knowing that it is an inevitable part of the human experience. Change brings growth, transformation, and new opportunities. When we let go of the need to control every outcome and allow life to unfold as it will, we create space for joy to arise spontaneously. We can begin to see each moment as a gift, knowing that it is precious precisely because it will not last forever. The joy of being is also tied to the concept of non-doing. In a culture that values productivity above all else, it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we must constantly be doing something to be valuable, to be worthwhile. We measure our worth by our accomplishments, by how much we have done, how much we have earned, how much we have achieved. But in doing so, we overlook the simple joy that comes from just being. Non-doing does not mean laziness or inaction. Rather, it refers to the ability to step back from the constant need to do and simply exist. It is the ability to rest in the present moment without feeling the compulsion to change it, fix it, or improve it. Non-doing allows us to be in the flow of life, to let go of striving, and to experience the fullness of life without the pressure of performance. It is in these moments of non-doing that we often feel the deepest sense of connection to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. There is a profound joy to be found in the ordinary. We often think that joy must come from extraordinary experiences, exotic vacations, grand celebrations, major accomplishments. But the joy of being is often found in the simplest of moments: a quiet walk in the park, a shared meal with a loved one, the warmth of the sun on your face. These moments, though seemingly mundane, are the fabric of our lives, and it is in these everyday experiences that true joy resides. To cultivate this joy, we must shift our focus from seeking external sources of happiness to appreciating the beauty in the everyday. By practicing mindfulness and presence, we can rediscover the wonder in life's most ordinary moments. When we stop rushing through life and begin to savor each moment as it comes, we realize that the joy we seek has always been within our reach. Ultimately, the joy of being comes from acceptance. When we accept ourselves as we are, and life as it is, we no longer need to struggle against the current of existence. We cease the endless striving for something more, something different, and instead embrace what is. This acceptance brings peace, and in that peace, joy arises naturally. We realize that we are enough, as we are, right now. There is no need to be anyone else or to be anywhere else. The joy of being is about embracing our humanity, with all its imperfections and contradictions, and celebrating the beauty of simply existing. The joy of being is a profound, liberating experience. It reminds us that happiness does not lie in the future, in the accumulation of things, or in the pursuit of goals. It is found in the quiet acceptance of the present moment, in the recognition that we are part of a vast, interconnected universe, and in the simple joy of being alive. When we let go of the need to strive and simply be, we open ourselves to a deeper, more fulfilling experience of life. Conclusion. In the end, the joy of being is not something to be sought outside of ourselves. It is a state of awareness, a return to the simplicity of the present moment. It is a profound realization that life is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding. And within this unfolding, every breath, every sensation, every interaction holds the potential for profound joy. When we release our attachments to outcomes, when we stop measuring our worth by what we do or achieve, we allow ourselves to fully inhabit the beauty of existence as it is. The true essence of life lies not in striving or acquiring, but in embracing the ordinary, the fleeting, and the eternal all at once. In finding joy in being, we discover the deep peace and freedom that arises from simply living with presence, acceptance, and gratitude. It is here, in this quiet surrender to life, that we unlock the infinite joy that has always been within us, waiting to be acknowledged.